Okay, if you're a Led Zeppelin fan, I think you're going to, this can be a very short video, but you're gonna get a huge kick out of what I have to show you today. But I want to start it off with something that happened to me this morning. I have this, I get up at really, really early. I get up between 3:30 and 4 every single morning, and I go to the gym. It's part of my daily routine. And it sounds nuts, but it's just something I've been doing for a long time to stay in shape and what have you. So anyway, I get there. It's a 24-hour gym. And as you can imagine, there's not a lot of people there when I show up in the morning. So I got there this morning, get out of my car. And as I'm getting out of my car, there's this red car that pulls into the parking lot. And the guy has his window down. And remember, this is 4 o'clock in the morning. And blaring out of his windows is, wouldn't you know it, Kashmir. So I getting out of my car, and this little red car pulls into the parking lot, and there's just very, very few people around. Of course, it's dark, and there's no cars on the road. There's only a few cars in the parking lot, and Kashmir he's just blaring this thing out. Well, now, I'm fascinated because, of course, I'm a big Led Zeppelin fan, and I'm walking into the gym. And I just have to stop and just look over at this car. And of course, he's getting out of his car to go into the gym. And as he's closing his door, I just kind of yell out to him because I'm fascinated by this. I go, "Zeppelin at 4 o'clock in the morning, huh?" And he turns over to me, and I was kind of blown away because this kid, and I mean kid, he was, well, okay, kid to me. He couldn't have been 21. And I look over at him and I go, and I had said Led Zeppelin 4, and he looks over at me and he goes, "My dad taught me well." And I thought, it was so fascinating. I wanted to share that story first of all, because I know a lot of the people that watch this channel, that follow this channel, are my age, give or take 15 years. And first of all, what I'd like to hear from you is, what is your experience with that? Because so many of us that are now in our 40s and 50s and 60s, we have kids that we probably introduced all the music that we listened to. And I'd love to hear what your experience is with that, first of all. So, because what happened with your kids? I mean, my middle daughter is a huge Beatles fan. And it's largely because, what did I do? I was just pushing, I loved the Beatles. And so I always would talk about the Beatles, we'd play the Beatles, and Revolver, I think that's the greatest thing they ever did. And we'd play Revolver, and my kids knew all kinds of stuff about the Beatles just because I was listening to it all the time. But not just that, I was listening to all the other stuff that I loved, which was also, my kids love Led Zeppelin because I introduced them to that when they were young. And then all kinds of things beyond that, all the stuff that I was listening to in the 80s. And not just heavy metal. I introduced my kids to all that stuff, but I'm also a huge fan of Marvin Gaye and Curtis Mayfield, and so my kids were introduced to all that stuff. And so I know that they do like a lot of the music that comes out today, but their core, really interestingly, is all of that old stuff. Anyway, so I'd love to hear your experience with that, because this kid that I ran into at the gym this morning was the age of some of our kids. And I'd love to see what your experience is with your kids when it comes to that type of music, because it's interesting that the classic rock that we were listening to in high school in the late 80s and early 90s was Led Zeppelin. And interestingly, our kids now are listening to that. We were listening to Led Zeppelin after Led Zeppelin was gone. And our kids now are also listening to Led Zeppelin, the next generation, also another generation removed, but they still love Led Zeppelin. And as evidenced by the fact, again, this kid pulling into the parking lot listening to Led Zeppelin. Okay, anyway, just wanted to share that. But I've got one other thing I want to show you that I think that you'll really enjoy. And I'm sharing this with you because it's December 10th. as I'm recording this, December 10th of 2024. And what I have here is from the Los Angeles Times, and it's Sunday, December 5th. This is on Christmas Day in the Los Angeles Times. And it's absolutely fascinating what was the ad that was put in here by KMET radio station 94.7. Look what they put in here as for their little Christmas advertisement. It's this, and if you're only listening to this and not watching it, it's this basically black, it takes up about 2/3 of this page vertically. It's a vertical advertisement, takes about 2/3 of the page from a horizontal standpoint. And it's basically got a quote from the song Kashmir as their Christmas message. This is so great. So, oh, let the sun beat down upon my face, stars to fill my dreams. I am a traveler of both time and space to be where I have been. Sit with elders of a gentle race this world has seldom seen. Talk of days for which they sit and wait. All will be revealed. And then it says, joy to the world. And this is the Christmas message is basically quoting Kashmir. And I actually learned something by reading this or finding this, because it says, there's the quote, and it says Bonham Page Plant, Led Zeppelin, Kashmir. And it doesn't list John Paul Jones as one of the authors or writers of the song, which I didn't know. And I went and pulled out my copy of Physical Graffiti, and sure enough, it lists these three guys as the songwriters, and John Paul Jones is not. So I looked it up on Wikipedia, and it said basically that John Paul Jones was late to the studio that day or something, which sounded so strange to me. But I don't know anything more about that. And if you know about that, what the story is about John Paul Jones not being given writing credit, what exactly happened here? Because it seems strange somehow that he wasn't. Anyway, but I thought you'd enjoy, if nothing else, the idea that a radio station had Metro Media Stereo for Los Angeles, KMET 94.7, that their Christmas message was basically a quote from Kashmir. Anyway, again, I thought you'd find that stuff interesting. Thanks for watching this video. Please follow the channel. If you don't follow the channel, we get some of these videos get so many thousands and thousands of views, and yet I know that most of the people watching these things aren't following the channel. So I just ask you to click that button. Please follow the channel. Of course, like the video, and I'd love to hear your feedback on all this stuff. Again, with that, have yourself a fantastic day.